Imagine a man standing under Hollywood's bright lights. His deep eyes hold untold stories. His mysterious smile melts millions of hearts. That's Johnny Depp, not just a gifted actor with wild roles in Pirates of the Caribbean or Edward Scissorhands, but a man with a golden heart, shining quietly beyond the fame. So what sets him apart? Johnny believes success only means something when it's shared, when it reaches lives in need. And then, in a hidden corner of that glamorous world, he did something no one saw coming. Johnny Depp doesn't just live through his characters. After decades of giving his all to art, he quietly took a huge chunk of his blockbuster earnings to build a nursing home called Silver Haven. This wasn't some ordinary charity. It was his grand dream, a place where the elderly, often forgotten by the world, could live their final days with dignity and warmth, rich or poor. For Johnny, it's how he gives back what life gave him. But behind Hollywood's dazzling glow, few know the story. He doesn't need a mic or a camera to shout about it. For Johnny, actions matter, not words. His kind heart isn't new to those who've heard of him. He once gave his coat to a homeless man on a cold night. He spent hours talking to fans, ignoring his busy schedule. But Silver Haven is bigger, a testament to the humility and compassion he keeps under wraps. He didn't want his name on golden plaques or in headlines. He just wanted a place where the weak and abandoned elderly could find light in their fading days. But the story doesn't end there. Johnny didn't just build Silver Haven. He put his faith in it. He believed it would stand for his ideals, a fairer world where old age isn't loneliness or disdain. But would that dream last? As his spotlight dimmed and he handed it off, what waited ahead? Join Johnny Depp on a journey, not just of light, but of shadows he never expected. Silver Haven isn't just a nursing home. It's Johnny Depp's vision of a place where old age isn't fear, but a journey worth cherishing. When he started this project, Johnny didn't just pay for walls. He spent months crafting his idea. Green gardens with carnations and wooden benches where the elderly could watch sunsets, cozy rooms with gentle light from big windows, and special programs like painting classes or storytelling nights, so their spirits stay free from time's grip. To Johnny, this wasn't a place to wait for death. It was where they could live, truly live, even for just a few days or years. Johnny didn't do it alone. He picked the first staff himself, not by degrees or resumes, but by their heart and morals. At their first meeting, he said, "Treat them like you'd want your own parents treated." He believed kindness can't come from books. It comes from within. He poured in not just money, but his soul, choosing every chair in the common room, making sure every elderly person without family felt like kin. That's why Silver Haven was born, a place where the elderly, rich or poor, are part of one big family. But Johnny isn't one to bask in the spotlight forever. Once Silver Haven stood tall, he handed its management to a team he trusted. He didn't want his name on every door or sign. For him, the building was done. Now it was time for it to run itself, to prove its value. He stepped back to his own life, sure his dream would carry on through those he chose. Yet Johnny couldn't guess that trust might falter. Silver Haven was meant as a small paradise, where the elderly find meaning in their last days, with or without money or kin. But when he walked away, would those values stand? Would his team honor his vision or let it slip away? The answer lay ahead, in days Johnny never thought he'd face again. Years passed since Johnny Depp left Silver Haven, trusting his dream to those he picked. But then, on a gloomy morning, as he sat in his quiet wooden house in Los Angeles, a letter with no sender slid through the door. Inside, shaky words said, "Silver Haven isn't what you dreamed. The elderly are neglected. Staff don't care. The truth is buried." That first letter made Johnny frown. More came, from staff, from families, and his heart sank. They told of elderly treated like burdens, complaints hushed, a paradise turned cold and cruel. Johnny didn't want to believe it. He'd poured his soul into Silver Haven, picturing it as a beacon of kindness in a heartless world. But those words stuck, stealing his sleep. He asked himself, did I trust too much? Has my dream been warped? Confusion became heartbreak, then resolve. He couldn't let his life's work, A place built to honor human worth turned into a disgrace. Reading letters wasn't enough. He had to see it, feel it himself. In a silent moment, he made his choice. Johnny would go to Silver Haven, not as Johnny Depp, the Hollywood star with a radiant glow. He'd disguise himself as an ordinary old man, gray hair, glasses, a cane, unseen by all. He wanted to step in as a nameless resident, to face the truth without flattery or lies. Johnny grabbed an old coat from his closet, put on a worn cap, and looked in the mirror. The man staring back wasn't a star, just a frail soul, ready to confront the darkness of his own creation. He whispered, "If something's wrong, I'll fix it." And so, his journey began. Johnny Depp steps through the gates of Silver Haven with a heart full of hope, but his eyes widen in shock. Disguised as an old man with gray hair, thick glasses, and a cane, he heads to the reception desk. A worker named Sarah sits there, her tired eyes sliding over him like he's a nuisance. "What do you want?" she snaps, her voice sharp, not even looking up from her computer. Johnny softly asks about the sign-up process. Sarah sighs, shoves a paper across the desk, and mutters, "Fill it out and wait." It'll take a while. No smile, no greeting, far from the warm place he once pictured. Johnny sits in the waiting room. The hard plastic chairs creak under him. Next to him is an old woman named Margaret, her thin hands clutching a torn bag. She whispers, her voice trembling, "I've been here 3 months, but if I don't tip the staff, they won't bring me food." Johnny's heart tightens. He looks around, hoping it's just one case. Then he sees Mr. Charles Grayson, the head of the nursing home, stride in. Grayson's in a slick suit, hair perfect, but his eyes are ice cold. Minutes later, Johnny witnesses something that stuns him. An old man, hands shaking, spills water on the floor. Grayson yells, "If you can't hold your stuff, don't expect anyone to clean it up." His voice hits like a slap, making the man shrink in fear. Johnny grips his cane, fighting the anger rising inside. This isn't the Silver Haven he built. There's no care, no kindness here, just control and coldness. Grayson walks off, leaving the man there, tears falling silently. Johnny wonders, how did it come to this? He knows he needs to stay longer, to uncover the truth behind the polished mask Grayson hides behind. Johnny Depp keeps watching Silver Haven. Every hour feels like a knife stabbing his dream. As an old man in disguise, he sees the unfairness plain as day. One morning, a wealthy old lady arrives in a fancy car with her son. Staff rush to her, all smiles, guiding her to a VIP room with hot tea and cheerful chat. Meanwhile, Margaret, the woman he met before, huddles on a chair, ignored. Johnny clenches his teeth. A wave of injustice floods his chest. Then he meets Henry, an old man with Parkinson's, his trembling hands unable to hold a spoon. Henry tells Johnny he rarely gets help. "The staff say I slow them down," he murmurs. One afternoon, as Johnny sits in the garden, a loud thud jolts him. He turns to see Henry sprawled on the path, his cane flung aside. A worker named Lisa walks by, glances at him, and says coldly, "He's always falling." I'm not free to keep picking him up. She leaves him there, gasping in pain. Johnny rushes over, helps him up, but his blood boils. Lisa's coldness isn't rare. Johnny notices people like Margaret and Henry, those without rich families or cash, are treated like ghosts. Yet another old man, whose daughter brings an expensive gift, gets Grayson himself greeting him, laughing loudly like he's royalty. Johnny's fists tighten. He forces a calm face, but inside a storm rages. This isn't the place he made for the elderly to feel loved. It's become an arena of unfairness, where money decides your worth. He knows he has to act, but not yet. Johnny Depp sits in Silver Haven's garden, his eyes behind old glasses watching every detail. Anger burns inside as he recalls Henry falling, Margaret starving, Grayson's fake smiles for the rich. But he knows acting rashly won't fix this. To save Silver Haven, he needs the root of the rot. Not just Grayson, but the system propping him up. Johnny takes a deep breath, telling himself to wait, to gather more proof before striking. He starts talking to residents and staff, playing the harmless old man so no one suspects. One night in the common room, he sits by a young nurse named Emily. Her sad eyes meet his. After some gentle questions, she whispers, "Mr. Grayson forces us to focus on high-paying clients. No money, no value. I want to help, but I'd lose my job." Her words chill Johnny. This isn't one man's cruelty. It's a rule, a system twisted far from his original goal. Johnny keeps listening. Another old woman says she complained to Grayson about no hot water, but he snapped, "You don't pay enough to demand anything." A worker, during a break, lets slip that Grayson fakes reports to the board to look good. Johnny's heart sinks. Silverhaven isn't his dream anymore. It's a money machine where kindness is swapped for profit. But he stays silent, noting every word, every name. He needs more time to expose it all, to make sure when he acts, no one can deny the truth. One lazy afternoon at Silverhaven, Johnny Depp, still posing as an old man with fake gray hair and a trembling cane, chooses to confront Mr. Charles Grayson face to face. He's led to Grayson's office after complaining to a worker about poor care, an excuse to test the man in charge. The office is clean, cold, with a polished wooden desk and a hint of expensive cologne in the air. Grayson sits there, his icy eyes flicking over Johnny with no patience. "What do you want?" he asks, his voice sharp, like he's shooing a bothersome fly. Johnny, acting frail, says slowly, "I just want to know why we're not cared for right." Grayson gives a thin laugh, a sneer that bears his arrogance. "You think this is a 5-star hotel?" he snaps, drumming his fingers on the desk. "No money, no demands. We don't run a charity." Johnny feels hot blood rise, but he keeps calm, asking, "Then how do you manage this place if the elderly suffer?" Grayson waves him off, cutting in, "I don't have time for doddering old men. Get out." His heartless words and careless gesture stab Johnny's ideals like a knife. Looking into Grayson's eyes, Johnny sees not just control, but an empty soul with no compassion. Johnny rises, hobbling out with his cane. But inside, a fire sparks. Grayson's pride isn't just personal, it's the symbol of all that's ruined Silverhaven. This man puts profit over humanity, seeing the elderly as burdens, not lives to cherish. Johnny doesn't react yet. He turns away, keeping his quiet mask, but his eyes behind those old glasses flash with determination. The moment isn't here, but it's close. This short clash is just the first step to exposing the truth. Johnny Depp doesn't let feelings cloud his mind. After facing Grayson, he silently presses on with his mission at Silverhaven. He carries a tiny recorder tucked in his old coat pocket, catching every word, every second that could be evidence. Each day he watches sharper, staff brushing off the elderly, fake grins for rich families. But he needs more, the truth from those inside. One evening, as dim lights glow in the hall, Johnny stands near the staff break room, hearing a soft argument. Young nurse Emily and worker Lisa talk, voices tight. Emily whispers, "Grayson threatens to slash our pay if we report anything. Yesterday I tried helping Henry, but he said, 'Don't waste time.'" Lisa answers, tired. "The board backs him, Emily. Don't dream of fixing this. Speak up. We're gone." Johnny freezes, heart racing. Their words are the final piece in his picture. It's not just Grayson, it's rooted in Silverhaven's management, shielded by higher-ups who value numbers over lives. Johnny keeps recording, listening to the elderly too. Margaret says Grayson yelled at her for wanting a blanket, claiming, "You don't deserve it." A worker slips that Grayson fakes reports to cover the mess. Each bit builds Johnny's resolve. To save Silverhaven, he can't just punish Grayson. He must topple the system propping him up. That night, under faint moonlight through a window, Johnny sits alone, replaying the tapes. His eyes shine with purpose. He's got enough to strike. After days of watching and collecting proof, Johnny Depp knows it's time to drop the act. He calls a meeting with Silverhaven's management, still as the disguised old man. Entering the room, he sees Ms. Victoria Stone, senior manager, at the head, stern but smug. Grayson stands by, arms crossed, smirking like he's untouchable. Johnny sits, cane at his side. In a still moment, he pulls off his glasses, sheds the gray wig, showing his real face. "I'm Johnny Depp," he says, voice low but cutting, "the true owner of Silver Haven." The room goes dead silent. Victoria's face pales, hands clutching the table like she's been hit. Grayson's eyes bulge, his smug smirk fading to fear. Johnny stands, his stare slicing through them. "I've seen everything," he says, voice booming like a verdict. "I've seen the elderly abandoned, treated like burdens. I've seen Grayson shout at them, staff too afraid to speak. This isn't what I built." He listed, Henry falling with no aid, Margaret left hungry, Grayson's cruel jabs. No one dares interrupt. Victoria tries to speak, but Johnny stops her with a hand. "I made Silver Haven so the elderly could live with dignity, not for you to turn it into a money mill." His voice lowers, fury thick in the air. Grayson stutters. I was just doing my job." Johnny faces him, eyes cold. "Your job was to care, not torture." Silence hangs, only quick breaths from those who know nothing will be the same. After revealing himself, Johnny Depp wastes no time. He stands in the meeting room, eyes locked on Grayson. "Mr. Charles Grayson, you're fired. Effective now," he declares, voice firm like an unbreakable ruling. Grayson's jaw drops, ready to argue, but Johnny cuts him off. "Don't bother. I've heard enough." Two guards step in, quietly leading Grayson out, his face red with rage and shame. But Johnny knows firing one man isn't the end. He must fix the whole rotten core. He turns to Ms. Victoria Stone, trembling before his resolve. "Starting today, things change," he says, steady as steel. "I want an anonymous line for staff and residents to speak without fear. I want all workers retrained in kindness and duty. Above all, every person in Silver Haven gets equal care, rich or poor." Victoria nods, too stunned to argue. Seeing Johnny's power comes not just from fame, but integrity. Grayson, cast out, doesn't quit. Burning with spite, he pools his cash to launch Golden Years, a rival nursing home to outshine Silver Haven. He boasts luxury, but his short-sighted greed shows, cutting corners, hiring cheap staff, pampering only the wealthy. Soon, Golden Years crumbles. Workers quit, residents complain of neglect, and Grayson's name collapses in ruin. Meanwhile, Johnny acts true. He kneels before Margaret and Henry, holding their hands. "I'm sorry for what you've endured. I'll make Silver Haven right again." Tears roll down Margaret's face. Henry smiles faintly, feeling valued at last. Days later, Silver Haven transforms. Staff work with new care. The elderly thrive. Coldness fades to warmth. Johnny watches from afar, knowing his dream is reborn. As Silver Haven regains its true vision, Johnny Depp sits alone in the garden, sunset glowing on his thoughtful face. This ordeal taught him a hard truth. Kindness alone isn't enough without watchful eyes. He once thought building a good place and handing it off was all it took. But Grayson proved him wrong, turning Silver Haven into a profit pit, then crashing with Golden Years from his greedy rush. Johnny sees now, he can't just create, he must guard what matters against selfishness. His view shifts forever. Real worth isn't in starting. Anyone can raise walls, but in keeping and shielding what you believe. Thinking of Margaret and Henry's pain, he vows it won't happen again. To protect Silver Haven, he picks Emily, the brave nurse who whispered the truth, to lead it. From LA, he calls her, "Emily, I trust you to keep Silver Haven a home, not a factory." Her eyes light up as she agrees, starting reforms with the heart Johnny craves. Johnny smiles, but it's a wiser smile, forged through struggle. Respect and care cost nothing, yet holding them in a tempting world takes strength, resolve, and duty. Grayson fell chasing cash over people. Johnny rose putting people first. This isn't just about a nursing home. It's a lesson in never letting go of what you love. He stands gazing at Silver Haven's warm lights, laughter echoing from within, promising himself to watch over it, not just with his heart, but with his hands.